Hello, and welcome to another live. And yes, we're back on athletics, and this is going to be an exciting conversation in the context of, Elaine Thompson-Herah, in the context of her, doing that three-peat. Will that be possible? Can Elaine do it? And so we want to have a conversation about the defending Olympic champions, and I suspect that our conversation is going to be predominantly, about the sprints. And so for sure, we'll start there. And yes, we're going to talk about, Shericka, Sha'Carri, Shelly in that context as well. And of course, some upcoming stars. We can't leave them out of this conversation and, thinking about Brianna Liston in this regard. So stick and stay, guys. And please, welcome. Please remember to hit the like button, the share button, and the subscription button. And let's get into it. So we have a lot to talk about in this context as well. So, recently we heard that, the gold medalists, they will walk away with 50,000 US dollars. So we want to talk about that in the context of, perhaps what happens at the World Athletics Championships, which is different from what we're seeing, at the Olympic Games. So lots to talk about, and we want to, call it for some of these athletes. Who do you believe is going to win the gold in the 100 meters and the 200 meters? So, we always talk about this before we even see anything, right? Before we even see the shape or form. So we want to see what will happen. And over time, yes, when we see the athletes getting into form, then we start to talk about some times. All right. So welcome. I see our member here, Soji Carlton Lovelace, there in the chat. Blessings to you too. Blessings to you too. And at some point in this conversation, Ruren will join us as well. So just waiting for this live to, build up a bit. Let's build it. Let's increase our number here. We can definitely do it. And, at the same time, I am just going to open the line. Let me see if I can just transition here. There you go. We're going to open this line, to take some calls. So we want to hear from you in the context of the Olympic Games. Let's talk about the defending, champions. Will they be able to defend their title? And so that is important, in that context as well. Would love to hear from you. So don't be afraid to call the WhatsApp number that you see on screen. Would definitely like to hear from you. So again, give us a call. The WhatsApp number is on screen, and we would love to hear from you in the context of, who do you believe will win, their Olympic titles, who will defend their titles in that regard. And, will Elaine do the three-peat? That's a big question. Will Elaine do the three-peat? So who will win the US $50,000? So again, welcome. Would love to hear from you. So don't be afraid to give us a call. And as your rock can come in, hit the like button, hit the share button, hit the subscription button, and of course, tell a friend to tell another friend to join us. All right, definitely. So the phone line is open, and of course, you can share away in the chat. So let me just share with you some information for those of us who may not remember, all right, in the context of, the Olympic, results. So we're going to, let me just share with you, and I guess everyone should know the 100, meters. So in first place, we have Elaine Thompson-Herah, 10.61. Then Shelly-Ann Frazer-Pryce, 10.74. Shericka Jackson in third place, 10.76. All right, and of course, Marie Jose Kalu there in the number four spot, 10.91. So, Jamaicans, they have dominated, I guess, last Olympics, the 100 meters. So we had gold, silver, bronze. The big question, can the Americans spoil that Jamaican party? So we want to talk about that too in that context when we think about, Sha'Carri and where will Sha'Carri fit in this context. And so that is also important in this conversation. When we think about, the Jamaican, trials in itself, who will be going? Who will be going? Will Elaine make the team? Because as you have to run to make the team. So who do you believe will make the Jamaican team? I guess we can start there and then go a bit further with this conversation as well. So welcome, welcome. If you're just tuning in, please remember to hit the like button, the share button, and the subscription button. So in the context now, and let us just go there, of the men's 100 meters. All right, so I'm just trying to get that information for you. All right, we know that Marcel Jacobs, so Lamont Marcel Jacobs of Italy, won in 9.80. And then in second place, Fred Curley of the USA, and then bronze went to Andre DeGrasse of Canada. So Fred Curley's time 9.84 and Andre DeGrasse 9.89. In fourth place, we had Akani Simbini 9.93. All right. So in that context of things, right, from all that I'm seeing here, there weren't any Jamaicans in that one. Will we see, the likes of Akeem Blake? Will we see, those youngsters coming in this one? Where will they fit? Seville, what will happen in this context? So, want to talk about that. And in the context of this 100 as well, we need to talk about Lyles. Will Lyles be taking this 100, or can, Marcel, can Jacobs defend his Olympic title? So that's a big question there over on the men's side in the context of this 100, meters. So let's now move on to the men's 200, then we'll go back to the women's 200. All right, so in the context of the men's 200, right, Andre DeGrasse is the defending Olympic champion. He took the gold in 9.62. Then silver went to US Kenneth, all right, Benarek, 19.68. So that was 19.62 for DeGrasse, 19.68 for the American in silver. And Noah Lyles took the bronze in 19.74. Arian Knighton was in fourth with 19.93. All right, so Americans there, silver, bronze, and in fourth place. All right. Can Andre DeGrasse defend his 200 meters Olympic title? That's a big question in the context of Lyles again and Knighton as well. So will Andre DeGrasse be able to defend his Olympic title? So if you're just tuning in, welcome, welcome. The phone line is open. Don't be afraid to give us a call. The WhatsApp number is on screen. Would love to hear from you. So, who is going to win this one? And if we go back over to the women's 200 meters, all right, let's go there. If we go to the women's 200 meters, Let's see. Elaine Thompson-Herah, right? Won the gold, 21-5-3. Christine Mambo, 21-8-1 silver. Gabrielle Thomas, so Gabby Thomas of the USA, 21-87. And Fraser-Pryce was there in fourth place, 21-94. Talu, 22-27. All right. So the 200 meters, the question here again, can Elaine defend this title? And in this context now, we have to insert a Shericka Jackson, a Sha'Carri Richardson, and I am thinking that, Shelly is not going to do the 200 meters. So perhaps we won't see a Shelly-Ann Frazer-Pryce. That's my thing based on what has happened, last season. So we're thinking about that. So can Elaine defend that Olympic title? That's the big question. And we know from, the history that Elaine Thompson-Herah tends to do better at the Olympic Games as opposed to World Championships. So is it that the Olympic Games is Elaine's territory, or is it that we are perhaps going to see a new 100 and 200 meters champion? That's the big question. Would love to hear from you again in the context of, your views. All right. So over on the 400 meters side, so let's look at the 400 meters for women. And I guess with the 200, we can insert Gabby Thomas there as well. All right. So let's go over to the 400. The 400 for women. Just trying to get that. And for sure, we know that Shawnee of the Bahamas won that in 48.36. And then Paulina from the Dominican Republic, silver, 49.20. Alison Felix was there, 49.46. And then Stephanie and McPherson, 49.61. In that context, I'm not sure. We saw Shawnee going down to the 200. Will Shawnee come back to try and defend this title? All right, so that is something that we're looking out to see, and would love to hear from you too in that context. All right, and let's go over to the 400 meters for men. And let's talk about Stephen Gardner, Bahamas, 43.85. Will he be able to defend this Olympic title? Kirani James got the bronze in 44.19. And Anthony Zambrano of Colombia, 44.08. So what will we see in the 400 meters for men? That is something that, would love to hear from you in that context. So again, don't be afraid to give us a call. The WhatsApp number is on screen. Would definitely love to hear from you in the context. Who will win? Who will win the gold medals for, the various events and get that $50,000? And also in the context of that, would love to hear from you if it is that, the powers that be could have done, much better in the context of, trying to give, the silver medalist, bronze medalist, something from, whatever. So right now it's just the gold medalists who are going to, get that prize money there. And so again, want to hear from you in this context. I believe Ruren is here. Hello, Ruren. How are you doing?
Hello, Natasha Lee. I just ran in, to, share my few words.
Oh, yes, I like it.
Yeah, for sure. interesting times ahead of the Paris Olympics. I am still a little bit, concerned, or probably it's not a bad concern that I'm having. Like, I'm not able to keep track with the athletes. I'm hoping that they're doing, well in terms of their health as it relates to Elaine Thompson. You know, words have been out there that she's not doing so well. And my other concern would be to, people like Brianna Williams, who, has been going through a few changes as it relates to to her coach. That applies to Elaine as well. I'm just wondering how ready those people are, in terms of that. But it's going to be a cracker as it relates to the Jamaican, female team, Natasha Lee. And I heard you
I
going
believe
through,
so.
yeah, I heard you going through some of the information, and really quality athletes, and they will, have to bring their A game to the national trials. Or
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned the national trials. So let us pause and talk about the female side of things here, in Jamaica. And, it's going to be very, very difficult to make the team. And as you rightly said, the athletes, over on the female side, when you think especially about the 100 and 200, they will definitely have to bring their A game. So I'm going to just try and pull you out because you ran over here. I'm gonna try and just stretch your legs some more. I don't know if you want to do a 200 with this one, but I'm gonna stretch your legs, Rurian. So, who do you believe, if you were to select a top three for the 100 meters, like I'm going to send these three to the Olympic Games, which three would you select for the
well, right
female
now,
and the three for the 200 meters? Yeah, for your team.
right now, after running over, I'm on recovery time. We're trying to recoup, trying to get the energy and the thoughts right. But it's a tough one. Um, I'm thinking Elaine, Shelly, and Shericka for the 100. Uh, and definitely Elaine and Shericka for the 200. I'm not finding that third person yet for the 200. But that's my prediction. That's what I'm foreseeing. I know that Shelly-Ann Frazer is a competitor, one who is going to go out there and give her all. And I'm with you in the sense where she's not going to tackle that 200 meters. Um, and I think rightly so as well, based on the season that Sharika had last year. It's going to be tough for Shelly to beat her on the 200. So she would stand a better chance on the 100. So that's why I'm saying Shelly in the 100. Um, Speaking about Sharika, still has a good chance in the 100, but we know how, lethal she is in the 200 meters. So that's going to be interesting to see, Sharika on top of her game versus Elaine Thompson if she can get on top of her game as well. You know, Shericka Williams did really well last year. 2023 was an awesome year for her. Elaine Thompson didn't have such a good year, but she started to make strides later on. So if she gets to her top form, it's going to be an interesting showdown between the two in both the one and the 200 meters. So that's where I am. My legs are fully pulled out, so I'm going to pass over to you to see if you want to share your thoughts.
We're not yet at the relays, man. But I like that in the sense where I guess you're saying then, you're going with the well-established athletes for the 100 meters, I guess based on experience. But I am wondering, is there a possibility where a Brianna Liston, for example, could come and, spoil that, one, two, three, in that context? I mean, it's very early in the context of what is happening, but she has been doing, I'll say, very well so far. And, she's one that I am really looking out to see, what will happen. I won't be surprised if she disturbs, the well-established athletes. Would not come as a shocker for me. And I know that Soji would agree when it comes down to Brianna Liston, especially with the 200. Soji will tell you that Brianna Liston is going to be the one to get that record. But
Yeah, for
say,
sure.
yeah. So say for example, Ruben, with this 100, right? You based on the pick so far, Shelly, Shericka, Elaine go into Paris, right, in the summer, and then facing that field, let's say all three athletes make it to the final. Who will win that 100 Olympic gold medal? Will Elaine do it again, or will there be a new Olympic champion for the 100 meters? So, based on what you're seeing, will Sha'Carri, last time Jamaica got a sweep, gold, silver, bronze, where will Sha'Carri fit in this field? Can Sha'Carri disturb the Jamaican party, the Jamaican celebration, or is the case where the Jamaicans will, lock her out completely from getting onto the podium? Ren, where is Sprint gone? Ren, we're not hearing you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you right now. Awesome.
All right. So just to to add to, let me know if you're hearing me well.
Yes, I'm hearing you. So I believe they should be hearing you in the chat as well.
Yes. So could you give me a minute, Natasha? I'll get back to you in just a minute. Sorry about that.
For sure. For sure. No worries. And so while Ruren is taking some time to get around the track, all right. So, the question that I posed to him, so he had selected from the Jamaican side of things, Shelly, Shericka, and Elaine going to the Olympic in terms of the 100 meters. All right. So my question then was, okay, given these three ladies in the context of, say, Sha'Carri, will Sha'Carri be able to kind of interfere with the Jamaican celebration? Where does Sha'Carri Richardson fit in the context of the 100 meters? Will there be a new Olympic champion? Will Elaine be able to defend her title? Just based on what we have now, we don't have a lot because, season is very early and the athletes are definitely getting into form. But for sure, we want to start the conversation. So as things start to take form, we'll definitely be revisiting this conversation. But in the context of, let's look at as you can see on screen, the defending Olympic champions. So we have Elaine for the 100 and 200 on the women's side. And over on the men's side, we have Jacobs, so Lamont Marcel Jacobs of Italy for the 100 meters, and Andre Degrasse of Canada for the 200 meters. And you're looking at, Shawnee there for the 400 meters. So in that context, do you believe the defending Olympic champions, and let's just stick to the 100 and the 200 now, will they be able to defend their title? All right. And we think about some surrounding factors in the context of other athletes. And when we look at the 100 and the 200, well, the 100, we think about, Shericka Jackson, Sha'Carri Richardson in that mix with Elaine. And when we think about the 200 meters, did I call Shelly? And of course, Shelly in that 100 mix. When we think about the 200 meters, we're going to think about Elaine, Shericka Jackson, Sha'Carri, and of course others. I'm thinking Shelly's not going to do the 200 at the Olympic Games. So Would love to hear from you in that context. So give us a call. The WhatsApp number is open. And of course, you can share in the chat. Ruren, I believe you're ready for us now.
Yes,
Was that
Shelly,
a
I'm
false
back.
start
Well, I wouldn't say a false
or a
start.
faulty start?
I was just,
The
I
faulty
was,
start.
it was a faulty start, I would say, not a false start at all. Interesting race there. Um, just to give a breakdown of that 100 meter, going back to that question that you asked, how will the athletes place? Lots of things to contend with in terms of the whole preparation is going for the athletes now. I think the national trial will give us a good idea of where they are. So that's one thing as it relates to the Jamaican athletes, and even to stretch it a little bit wider, thinking about Sha'Carri, how she'll measure up in the U.S. trials as well, because that's very competitive. So that's those are two things that I would consider going forward. But based on history, I'm thinking that, if Shelly gets her bullets back that she, normally gets, she is going to be, someone that is going to be highly touted to win this one because it means that, a Shericka Jackson and an Elaine Thompson will have to run and catch her and pass her to win. And there's not much room for error in the 100 meters. So Shelly usually gets a high percentage of good starts. So I feel I pick Shelly and Fraser. I would give the slight edge, over Shericka and also Elaine. So I would say in that order, I would say Shelly, Elaine, Shericka. I would say like just based on off the top of my head right now, with not much background information on how their training has been going this year. I think as it relates to Sha'Carri coming through and fitting in that mix, she is not going to be taken lightly, Ellie, at all. And that's what will happen now. I get the feeling that most persons, well, let me not say most persons, but I get the feeling that a lot of persons or some people had that notion that Sha'Carri, goes hot and cold at times, blows hot and cold at times. And, she has other issues that, takes away from her performance. But I think that win in that World Championship 100 meters final has allowed persons to give her some respect. And the fact that she ran such a good time to beat the Jamaicans who were totally stunned after that race, you know, it speaks volume to her potential and her ability. And she's someone that we cannot write off. But the fact that she came in and did that in the World Championship final, I know that you know, they will not take her lightly wherever she's placed. If she's in the middle of the track, or she's at the end. Everybody's going to go in and go out and go hard. So I think the top four would be there about with Sha'Carri, Elaine, Shericka, and Shelly. And that Talu will be somewhere in that final as well, knowing her work ethics and so on. So that's pretty much how I see the 100 meters now. I'm going to pass back over to you, Dr. Sherry. Hello?
Thank you so much for sharing. Wonderful. So you're pretty much saying then, Ruren, that it's going to be a Jamaican party.
Yes, for sure. Always a Jamaican party at the Olympic Games. Our athletes have represented so well for so many years. I heard some persons talking on a program the other day, and they were saying that, they sit and as members of other countries in the Caribbean, and they sit in their living room watching the and supporting Jamaica at the Olympic Games. So you know how influential, how strong Jamaica is when it comes down to athletics and representing the country and the Caribbean well. So it's definitely a party, especially.
All right. Justin wants to hear you to tell you how biased you are because, Sha'Carri is going to take this one. And when Justin talks about that cup and speed, so I don't know if you're hearing me, Justin, but for sure, Justin will tell you, Rurian, that if you think Sha'Carri is not going to come in there, you're crazy. All right, hello to all the people tuned in from Antigua and Barbuda. All right, hello to you. And let me know where you're tuned in from. All right, just comment in the chat, give us a call. The WhatsApp number is on screen. Rural's conversation is not interfering with the phone line, so don't be afraid to give us a call. Please remember to hit the like button, the share button, and the subscription button as well. So, Ruren, I'm going to come over to the men's side of things, and perhaps you can tell me, will the Italian Jacobs, will he defend this 100-meter title?
Well, good question again. I haven't been so much attuned to him as it relates to what's happening so far, but the fact that he's an Olympic champion, it means that he has certain amount of potential and he can't be taken lightly. But I think other guys have stepped up their game as well. Noah Lyles is there, and the Americans, they want to state their claim on the sprints as well. So, for him being Italian, that, the Jamaicans, Civil, and, probably Kishane Thompson, who to tell, might be in the mix as well, trying to dethrone him there. But, that what he has, about all of those guys that he has won before, so he knows exactly what it takes and how much effort he will need to expel and if he needed to fine tune anything as it relates to his technique and just his mental preparation as it relates to going back in. So I'm sure he's going to come giving 100%, and that's what will happen going forward in that 100-meter final.
All right, wonderful. Thanks for sharing there. And of course, when you think about, I guess, Jacobs there in this context, as you rightly said, Ruri, and I agree with you, we have to, bring Lyles into this conversation, and I guess perhaps Curly and Coleman, American, and of course, the Jamaicans. And we're going to talk about, of course, Seville. You mentioned Kishane Thompson, and I want to see what Kishane has to bring, to the field, to the track, because we have seen some potential. All right, so definitely looking out for Kishane Thompson. So I am hoping that we can see Kishane this season as well. And also, Akeem Blake, he too has some potential, but again, so he will tell you the story about Akeem Lake. So we're hoping to see. And, I've listened to Yohan Blake, and I guess I need
Yeah,
to ask you about Yohan. Do you believe that
that's
Yohan has something left in the tank that he can just
well.
come back and do something really good here?
Well, I was just about to ask you the same question. I don't believe in giving up on people, and if he puts in the work, I'm sure he'll get that, reward. But first thing first, he has to ensure that he makes that team. So he needs to ensure that he competes at the national stadium at the trials and get through that hurdle first, and then he'll move forward. But I think he's still passionate about it. I think he's still putting in the work. So It's about him to go out there and execute and reach his rewards.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Great point there. Great point there, Rurian. And again, would love to see, the athletes doing well from, every country because we know that they put a lot in. And, Rurian, you often would work out the maths in terms of the time and say, they put in so much work and sometimes it's even like less than 10 seconds or less than 11 seconds, and that is pretty much what we use to judge athletes as opposed to the journey and what it takes to get them there on the track. And so in all of this though, Ruren, I want to ask you, what do you think about the just awarding the gold medalists only at the Olympic Games? So I believe they're going to get 50,000 US dollars. In that context, what are your views on that? And, as we know, usually the Olympic Games, they do not get any, compensation or any monetary reward in that context. So, in the context of this recent announcement, how do you feel about it? Do you believe that this might cause us to get a better viewership in, or I guess to enjoy the games more in the context of the level of competition that we might see? What does this mean for you at this point, and in the context of just rewarding the gold medalists only? We're told that this will be extended to 2028 silver and bronze medalists, in the next Olympic Games. So just coming back over to you.
Okay, good question, Natasha. I must commend the Olympic organizers for, thinking or, putting that in place where the winners of events will get that 50,000 US dollars. So on that, I would say it's a step in the right direction, in compensating, athletes for doing, well, for winning their particular event. So I am in support of that. Secondly, you mentioned that this might be something that drives performance, and I totally agree with that. I think with that monetary incentive there, that will definitely push performance. And, I think in essence too, it will make the whole spectacle of the event, more sightly, I would say. More persons will tune in if records are breaking or the possibility of that. So it's going to be a win-win all around. I think the athletes work hard, so they deserve every penny that can go in their favor. The fact that, the money is spent and better performances may come from that. It makes good for viewership and, TV rights and persons watching and for sponsors and, all of those persons who are involved, they will get their cut from the increased viewership as well. And, if the Olympics is something that, persons are craving or wanting to watch, then, more viewership, more support for the Olympics can never be bad. So on all levels, I think it's a step in the right direction. And moving into 2028, so you're going down to get some other athletes awarded monetarily is important as well. So I think they have given a serious thought and they have, ensured that they make a start as it relates to that. Would I want other athletes to be compensated? Yes, if it means that they can get all the persons who gets to the final to, get that done, then hopefully that's what they have in mind. But it's a good thought and a good start. So that's where I'd leave that. But actually, I don't know what you think about my thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. Ruren, thanks for sharing as always there. I am just wondering, what would cause them. So if you can do it in 4 years to say, up to bronze medalists, what would cause them not to do it now? you know, these events, and I'm just going to speak, I'm not speaking with any facts, I'm just speaking based on what I believe, and perhaps I might be wrong here. I believe that there's a lot that goes into it and a lot that comes out of it in the context of, I guess, financial, reward coming out and finances going in. So I'm just wondering, why is it that, we see, world championships pretty much every 2 year, and you're able to award, once the athletes make it to the final, they're able to get some money, and that is staggered, I guess, based on their placement. So I am wondering, what's the difference over on the Olympic side of things that is happening every 4 year, and you're able to do this every 2 year? What are some of the main differences between World Championships and the Olympic Games? That is the question that came up. So, persons in the chat, Ruren, I'm going to come back to you. Perhaps you don't have the answer. I don't have the answer, but just wondering, what are your thoughts around that question, Ruren?
Well, I haven't done any research as it relates to this, but I think a lot of it is, and this is my personal view, I think it's just trying to stick to the tradition of, the whole Olympic Games, as it started out with people just competing to show that they're the best in a particular area. And, in the initial stage, it was only men who were allowed to participate. And it has evolutionized where women has started, women are participating, and, a lot of events have been added, and they're considering adding more events just to capture, the interest of people and their skill in particular sport. I think it's just another evolution, addition to the whole Olympic sphere, where they realize that yes, we have been doing this. There is monies that are around, our monies are there that can be divulged to athletes just to, enhance the whole outlook of the games. And I'm just thinking it's another a block a building block on the entire, Olympic Games, where they want to compensate athletes for their performances. And I just think that's just coming, and in essence too, just to be in alignment with somewhat with the world championship as well, where, you want athletes who are performing to give their best. And if it means that, putting some monetary, you know, incentive there, then that's what they're going to do. But I strongly support it because the athletes have worked hard to get to where they get. So any sort of compensation in that regard, I think they would gladly take it. Back over to you, Natasha.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the big, you kind of brought that up somewhat in what you were saying just now, in the context of the Olympic Games, the fact that it's perhaps an amateur event in that sense, where, you know, you're not going to see, I guess, athletes being paid. And when you talk about, I guess, the spirit of the Olympic Games, I guess in that context, right? So they're pretty much unpaid, right? And so in that context, though, because you're able at this point to say we're going to award the gold medalist, I asked that question in that light to say this event takes place every 4 years. In the context of the World Championships, we see that every 2 years, and at the same time, every 2 year, and at the same time, you're able to compensate, all the finalists, in a particular event. So I'm just wondering why at this time we could not see, some compensation at least being extended to the bronze medalists. We are being told that this is something that we perhaps will see in 2028. All right. So the next Olympic Games. So was just curious to find out, your views in the context of that. And yes, we understand, Olympism, the spirit of the Olympic Games, and in that context, but would love to hear from you. So you can also share in the chat. And I see persons popping in and out. So while you pop in, please remember to hit the like button, the share button, and the subscription button. And of course, comment in the chat. Let me know where you're tuned in from. And also, if you'd like, you can give us a call on that WhatsApp number that is on screen. So we have been talking about, who will win in the context of the defending, Olympic champions. Will they be able to defend their titles? We're talking about, context surrounding defending Olympic champions. So when we think about the 100 meters, for example, with Elaine Thompson-Herah, we're talking about a Sha'Carri Richardson, Shelly-Ann Frazer-Pryce, Shericka Jackson. Will Elaine be able to do the three-peat? That's one of the questions too. And, we go over to the 200 meters. Elaine is there again. Can Shericka interfere with that? Displace Elaine in terms of Elaine defending that title there. So lots of questions, and we're also asking you about your views regarding the 50,000 US dollars that gold medalists will win in Paris this summer. And just wanting to hear from you. So if you're just tuning in, welcome. All right, would love to hear from you before we wrap up this one. So don't be afraid to comment in the chat or give us a call here. Would definitely love to hear from you. All right, so Rurian, anything else you'd like to share over the 200 side? So we pretty much spoke about the 100 meters, right, in the context of Elaine, and you said you're pretty much taking Shelly-Ann to win that 100. So over on the 200 side, who, and let's say the 200 side, I guess you said you're seeing Elaine, Shericka, not sure who the third person will be leaving Jamaica. Let's say we're at the Olympic Games. Shericka, Elaine in the final, Sha'Carri, Gabby Thomas, Kalu. Who do you believe will win this 200 meters in Paris?
All right, so based on a performances last year, I would have to give, Shericka last 200 meters race. So I'm thinking it's going to be good to see, Shericka versus Elaine, and I think those two will push each other, and I think they will be a little bit better than the competitors. So I'm thinking it's going to be Shericka 1, Elaine 2 in the 200 meters.
All right, fair enough. So you're pretty much saying that Elaine will not do the three-peat based on how you're seeing things at this
Based
point.
on how things are at this moment, yes, that's what I'm saying. But I'm going to track her progress, Elaine's progress, and just the athletes as things go on, and based on how the season is going, I might tweak my thoughts a little bit. But for now, based on the information that is available to me, that's how I would think things would fall as it relates to 200 meters female final. I don't know if you want you to share your thoughts on that, or anybody in the chat
Well,
wants to
well, you,
share
you
thoughts.
know what? Yeah, for sure. You know what is true? This one is going to be a very tough one. And so, but I am still saying Shericka Jackson, like, to be fair, based on what I have seen so far with the 200, I'm going to say Shericka for the 200 and just keep it there. And I am not surprised if Shericka gets the double double with the 100 and the 200 because I am still thinking that, there is something left in Shericka Jackson. But you see, my Elaine, my namesake, if we get, and again, I'm just working from what happened last season. So we're just using last season. Well, I am just using last season to, it's very early in the season for sure. We'll come back here. But Elaine has, you know, something within her, that fire too. And if Elaine is doing okay, and I pray that she'll be fine, we'll see a different kind of 100-meter at least. And as you rightly said, if Elaine is doing okay, she perhaps can push Shericka to that record. And I am thinking that Shericka is perhaps going to try and go back. I'm not sure what their plans are. Go back for this record, perhaps outside of the Olympic Games, which would make sense, and it will take like a Elaine Thompson, a very fit Elaine Thompson to push her, or perhaps even a young Brianna Liston, coming up. So, lots to consider. And, it's just our first conversation. We just put the foot in the water. I feel how it feel at this point. So I'm excited, really want to see, how things unfold in the context of our athletes. And for sure, Mommy Rocket, she's going to go all out. She's a competitor. And when she goes to the line, she's going there to compete for sure. All right. If you ask me in the context of the men 200 meters, perhaps the grass won't be able to defend that title, retain that title. And again, I am going based on what we have seen last season, right? If he does, it's going to take a lot of work. Similarly, over on the men's 100 side, I'm saying Jacobs is perhaps not going to retain, to defend that title, to get that title, because again, what we have seen, just last season, which was an, world championship, kind of season. I'm just saying that at least from this photo here, at least we're going to see some different faces on the men's side. Elaine, perhaps, depending on the shape Elaine is in. And as you mentioned earlier, Ruren, we saw her getting better last season, and we're hearing this season that there were some, injuries and with the coach in terms of changes, but I guess she's still close to home in the context of the MVP kind of connection. So we should perhaps, give her the time and the space to see, what Elaine will do this season. And for sure, we're going to try our best to come here and talk about, what happens on the circuit as well, the Diamond League circuit. So again, lots to talk about. So again, it's just our first conversation, kind of just, you know, I dip a little foot in the water, kind of feel how cold it is or how warm it is. I don't know how it's feeling for you. Max Morgan, I see you in the chat there. Welcome, welcome. So coming over to you, Rurian, just to get some final, thoughts from you before we wrap this one up. Would love to hear from you, in the context of everything that we have talked about. How do you think? How is the water feeling over on your side?
Well, I think it's it's getting there. It's kind of lukewarm right now, but the fire is down there. It's like when you're cooking and you just pour that water in the pot. The fire is on there. You know it's going to boil, but you know, at the very instance where you throw the water in, then it's not boiling. So you know that the heat is coming. But lots of things to talk about, lots of things to discuss. Lots of observation needed just to figure out how things will pan out. Lots of important decisions need to be made by athletes and coaches and we could even add the Jamaica Athletic Association as relates to how things panned out in the World Championship and the relay aspect of that. So they have some choices to make. But it's I think Jamaica will have some challenges in terms of, well, not Jamaica, but the athletes will have some challenges in making that Olympic team, especially for the females and the sprint area. So that's a good problem to have in a country, as small as Jamaica. So that's interesting to see how things will pan out. The 100 meters, I think, at the Jamaica trials is, befitting of an Olympic final. So that's going to be, a cracker, in the national stadium when that time comes. So, athletes, I think, are out there doing their best, trying to keep injury free, but putting in as much work as they possibly can so that they are able to, represent well. So we have the seasoned campaigners, in terms of the Shericka, the Shellys, the Elaine, and we have that new uprising of, young athletes who are coming that we might not know much about. We can't rule out those wild cards because that's what happened in the World Championship final where Sha'Carri got placed way over there in the lane 8 or 9 and she ran and won. So, it could be a case where somebody young, is coming, well, somebody young to the Olympics or new to the Olympics, the upcoming athlete decided that, they're going to knock off, somebody who is seasoned of that spot to get into that event. So that's something that is, quite, exciting to look forward to. So I think lots of things to be excited about. So the national trials is going to be, like a mini Olympics for us, I would say. And the Olympic game itself, and all those meets going into the Olympics as well, just to find out how athletes are performing. Are they programmed in such a way where they will peak at the right time so that they can give their best performances at the Olympic Games. And that must be weighed against a scale where you need to make the team too. So I'm not sure how the coaches do it, but they'll have to get them to peak for the national trials and also for the Olympics. Hopefully, they have that all planned out. But it's going to be a really boiling hot as it relates to that Jamaican contingent that will go over to Paris for the Olympics. It's going to be an interesting thing going forward. So it's about the athletes putting their name down on that paper and say, I want to go and, go out on the track and expressing themselves. But, all in all, it's an exciting series and going forward. Good addition by the Olympic organization to, add some incentive to the game that was well needed. I think the Olympic generates lots of interest and money. So if it's going back to the athletes, I will never oppose that. I hope they'll continue to spread the money too that other persons can get it. As they said, they're going down to third place in 2028. Hopefully they'll be able to cover all the persons who make it to the finals. But all in all, it's set up nicely for an awesome track and field year this year, Natasha. So I'm excited, can't wait to hear what we'll discuss on the next program. And I must say, continue doing the great work that you are. So I'm passing back over to you now, Natasha.
Awesome, Ren. Thank you so much, and continue to, give us such great, thoughts, views, contributions. We really appreciate your support all the time here. And, I guess you have really summed up that very well. And I'm just going to go back a little bit to this US $50,000 and just say, yes, we understand that there are talks about, Olympicism in the context of the spirit of it. And, it's an amateur event. And, perhaps that is not something that is expected in the context of pain. But you said it well, Ruren, lots, I guess coming out of the game in terms of the event and we understand, like, the aim in terms of contributing to, to building peace, to building a peaceful and better world in that sense, through the game itself and the whole notion of the Olympic spirit, and so, but what we're saying is that if it is that you're using, athletes from, various countries to do this, and you're making, a money from it, give them a piece of the pie, man. Give them a piece of the pie. They work very hard. They deserve it. And I don't believe that that will take away from, the whole Olympic spirit, or the notion of Olympicism. So, let's support our athletes the best way, we can, because look at it. Perhaps, Marcel, you won, the last Olympic. Perhaps he will never win another Olympic title. Who knows? I'm saying perhaps. And if he had gotten that money, then, at least, now I don't know if I'm going to be able to defend my title. So will I get this money? And hopefully, he was able to, make some things in the context of, I guess, contracts and, deals in that context. But guys, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, all right, this evening for this conversation. I'm definitely looking forward to our next conversation. Very excited. And we're going to ensure try our best because, life is life in sometimes. And so we're going to try our best to keep you updated in the context of, the season and all it's happening. So we'll try to come and have a conversation, or we'll try to do some, watch parties. So while the events are going on, and again, lots there, no set promises because again, life is life in and, time and, all that. But continue to support this space so that we can, continue to grow stronger together. All right. Please remember to hit the like button, the share button, and the subscription button. And, always like to leave, something positive with you. So in that context, today for you, tomorrow for me. All right. So we think about that and, give yourself, space and grace and remember to exercise self-care. All right. Blessings and love, everyone. Please remember to turn on your post notification. We're up and running this season and ready to get back on track. You hear me? So I'm here trying to get informed because once we start running, it's the season. So we're starting out slow and we're trying to get into form. So our conversations will flow and of course we'll peak at the right time so we can get the record. And the record is to keep the subscription count going so that we know that we have built and, solidify a strong community here where, you can depend on us to be here and, bring you all the updates and where you get to contribute in a safe space. So, while we're building, all right, we're building slowly but surely, but we're definitely going to peak at the right time. Stick and stay, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to hit the like button, the share button, and the subscription button. Yes, close the chat, hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscription button, and also tap that bell and select all so that you do not miss any updates from this channel. All right, blessings and love, and I'll see you in the next slide. Bye for now.